Joe Burrow is one of the most promising young quarterbacks in the league. Some have even begun to compare him to the greatest of all time, Tom Brady. In only 42 regular season games, he has already thrown for 11,774 yards and 82 touchdowns. Along with this, he has already transformed the Bengals from the worst team in the league when he got there to Super Bowl contenders. Everyone knows Burrow as the savior of the Cincinnati Bengals. However, today we will take a deeper dive into his entire life and tell the full story of Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was born on December 10, 1996 in Ames, Iowa to Jimmy and Robin Burrow. At the time, Jimmy was on the coaching staff at Iowa State and his mother served as an elementary school principal. Along with coaching, his dad also played professionally in the 70s and 80s as a defensive back before he took up coaching. He attended the University of Nebraska and was selected by the Green Bay Packers in the 8th round in 1976. Growing up, his mother described him as very similar to the way he is today. He was very focused on sports, very driven to do the best he could at whatever he did, whether that was just playing video games or in school or in his competitions in different sporting events. He began playing football in only the 3rd grade and has always had a deep passion for the sport after traveling to watch his dad coach in the Rose Bowl. His parents were always very cautious about him playing the sport, especially at a young age. His dad was good friends with one of the equipment managers at Ohio University, and they always brought him out to make sure that Burrow's helmet and pads fit properly. The family moved around often during Burrow's childhood, and he was forced to make new groups of friends quickly. This could be a contributing factor to the incredible personality he has today. In 2003, the family moved to North Dakota after Jimmy got a coaching job at North Dakota State. Even then, opposing coaches were commenting on Joe and his future in football when he was only 7 years old. After 2 seasons at North Dakota State, the family moved for the final time to Athens, Ohio after Jimmy was hired as Ohio University's defensive coordinator. Burrow went to Athens High School and dominated as the school's starting quarterback. He led them to 3 consecutive playoff appearances and was able to bring the school their first win in playoff history. Along with this, he was able to tack on 6 additional wins in the playoffs as well. He finished his high school stint with 11,416 yards and 157 touchdowns through the air, along with 2,067 yards and 27 touchdowns on the ground. Burrow was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. He was listed as a dual-threat quarterback and ranked as the 9th best quarterback, the 16th best player in his region, and the 8th best player in Ohio, and the 298th best player overall in the 2015 recruiting class. He received scholarship offers from Western Michigan, West Virginia, Toledo, Ohio, North Carolina State, Maryland, Iowa State, Fresno State, East Carolina, Cincinnati, and Ohio State. He would end up signing with Ohio State and playing there for 3 years. He was redshirted in his first season and only threw a combined 39 passes in the 2 years that he saw the field for the Buckeyes. On those 39 attempts, he completed 29 for 287 yards and 2 touchdowns. At the time, Ohio State had an elite quarterback room at the time that, along with Burrow, included Cardale Jones, J.T. Barrett, Braxton Miller, and Dwayne Haskins. While Burrow has by far gone on to have a better professional career, all of those other options were incredible during their collegiate careers. Once Burrow left Ohio State, his career would begin to take off. He took over as the team's starting quarterback and immediately began to turn the program around. He had one of the most impressive performances in college football history, a 7-overtime game against Texas A&M. Although Joe and the Tigers were defeated in the 72-74 shootout, he finished the game with 270 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air, along with 100 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. LSU finished their first year with Burrow under center at a very respectable 9-3 record. However, they would come back as arguably the best team in college football history the following season. In 2019, the Tigers were out for blood. They had a star-studded offense built around Burrow that included Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. Along with this, their defense featured big names like Patrick Queen, Derek Stingley Jr., and Grant Delpit. LSU would run the gauntlet of the SEC and finish the regular season with a 13-0 record. they would go on to sweep through the playoffs and be crowned as national champions. Along with this, Burrow had one of the best individual seasons from a quarterback in NCAA history. He easily won the Heisman, and in his speech made sure to give props to the coaching staff that helped develop him as well. He finished the season with a remarkable 5,671 passing yards and 60 touchdowns. On top of his one-man aerial raid, he also ran for 367 yards and 5 touchdowns. After the record-breaking season that he had to close out his career, Burrow was the clear #1 pick in the draft. To sweeten the deal, the Cincinnati Bengals held the top pick, which would allow Burrow to come back to Ohio, where he spent his high school career. At the Combine, NFL.com gave him a 7.07 out of 10 rating, classifying him as a Pro Bowl talent. His production score was 99 out of 100, first in his draft class. His athleticism score was 70 out of 100, seventh best in his class, for a total score of 97 out of 100, first in the class. Scouts saw his strengths as high IQ, intangibles, off-the-charts presence, poise, and he was even described as a chess master on the field. The only concerns that scouts had for him coming into the draft were questions about his consistency, below-average arm strength with an average release time, and they thought he threw risky balls a little too often. His player comp heading into the draft day was Kurt Warner. As we know, the Bengals made the right decision and selected him with the first overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. This was quite the compliment, as the 2020 class was loaded with talent at the quarterback position, including Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, and Jalen Hurts. Burrow would have a very tall task in bringing the Bengals back to their former glory of being a team that regularly made the playoffs. They were coming off a 2-14 season that netted them the first overall pick they used on Burrow. There was not a lot for Burrow to work with on the offensive side of the ball. The offensive line was abysmal, and his top receiving target, A.J. Green, had checked out of Cincinnati and was ready to play for a contender. There were some promising players on the roster, including fellow rookie T. Higgins and running back Joe Mixon, who would suffer a season-ending injury in Burrow's rookie year. Mixon would not be the only one to go down for the season. Burrow himself would suffer a serious knee injury in Week 10, in which he tore both the ACL and MCL in his left knee. This forced him to undergo reconstructive surgery, and many wondered if he would ever come back the same. Prior to his injury, Burrow had led the Bengals to a 2-6-1, already improving on the team's record in the prior year in only 9 full games. He finished the season throwing for 2,688 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. In the 2021 draft, while Burrow was rehabbing his knee in an attempt to be ready for the season opener, the Bengals front office made the controversial call of using their 5th overall pick to select Burrow's college teammate, Jamar Chase, rather than bulking up their offensive line with Penei Sewell to try to prevent another catastrophic injury to their franchise quarterback. It was quickly made clear that Burrow was all in on the franchise drafting Chase. In an interview, he was quoted as saying, "I didn't go in and say, hey, I'd love to have Jamar Chase. I think the organization did a really good job of making me feel like I was at least kept in the loop about the process." Along with this, he allegedly texted Chase the night before the draft saying, "Make sure your bag is packed and ready." There were some concerns with Chase leading up to the 2021 season. However, Burrow stood by his teammate every step of the way, and it would end up paying off. Chase has quickly become one of the top pass catchers that the league has to offer. The Bengals appeared to be the team of destiny through 2021. Despite a good chunk of their games coming down to the wire, they more times than not found ways to close them out and come out on top. Burrow quickly became one of the top names in the league due to his play and moxie off the field. He finished the regular season with a career high in completion percentage, 70.4%, and passing yards, 4,611. The Bengals finished with a record of 10-6 and made the playoffs for the first time since 2015. They would continue their improbable streak of winning, taking down the Las Vegas Raiders in the wild card by a final score of 26-19, the Tennessee Titans 19-16, and Burrow even got the best of Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship in overtime, winning 27-24. In his first full season, Burrow had already found a way to turn around what seemed to be a sinking ship in Cincinnati. They took on a loaded Los Angeles Rams in the Super Bowl in another game that came down to the wire. Although the Bengals were not able to come out on top, they were only one play away from walking away as Super Bowl champions. The game finished in a 20-23 loss. After the game, Burrow would say, "It hurts. We put a lot of work into going out there and executing and performing well, and it didn't turn out the way we wanted. So it's disappointing. I'm disappointed in my performance overall. I thought I could have played better, give us a better chance to win, but you live and you learn." Burrow finished the playoff run throwing for 1,105 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. In 2022, the Bengals were regarded as Super Bowl contenders, and they had everything it took for another run at the Lombardi. They finished with a 12-4 record, and Burrow was playing some of the most efficient football of his career. He finished the regular season with 4,475 yards, 35 touchdowns, and a career-low 12 interceptions. They took down the Baltimore Ravens in the first round and had a dominating win over a very talented Buffalo Bills team. However, Mahomes and the Chiefs would get their revenge, sending Cincinnati home in a heartbreaking 20-23 loss. The sky is truly the limit for Joe Burrow. The fact that he is already compared to all-time greats like Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes after only being in the league for 2 full seasons is a true testament to his level of play. He is one of the fiercest competitors in the league and has a true passion for the game. If the Bengals can continue to build up their defense and keep elite weapons around him, they will continue to be Super Bowl contenders as long as he is on the field. There are rumors swirling that Burrow may be willing to take a hometown discount for the Bengals when it comes time to negotiate his contract extension. If this is the case, a super team could be coming to Cincinnati in the next few years.